Hey everybody, welcome to Crack Pack Tuesday number 91 on the Mana League. We've got ourselves another pack of Aether Revolt here. Hopefully you all had a chance to draft it at release weekend, and of course this weekend it'll be up on MTGO, and we will start having spiky Saturdays with Aether Revolt. But we're going to open this pack, see what's in it, and see what we would take pack one, pick one if this was a draft. Up first, we have a Take into Custody. Not a great card. A single blue mana for an instant. Tap target creature. It doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. Absolutely not a first pick, and probably never gonna play it. Just like last week, we've hit a print run. Immediately after Take into Custody is a Girapur Orrery. Or sorry, not Orrery, Osprey. You'll typically notice this in smaller sets. You'll notice that one card is often followed by a specific card. So it looks like Take into Custody is followed by Girapur Osprey some amount of the time. Girapur Osprey is 2 and a white for a creature bird. It's a flyer, it's a 2/2, it's a Windrake. It's fine. I would hopefully never have to first pick it, but I'd always play it. There should not be a pack bad enough that we would pick Girapur Osprey. Up next is Wrangle, 1 and a red for a sorcery. Gain control of target creature with power 4 or less until end of turn. Untap that creature, it gains haste until end of turn. Not a fan. Yeah, you'll win some games with this where, you take their last blocker or something like that and get through for lethal. And that'll work, and that's fine. It's not something that I typically like to play, but some people do like threat and effects a little more than I do. But I'm never first picking it anyways, and even those who do like threat and effects aren't first picking it. Fenhauler is up next. Fenhauler is 6 and a black for a creature insect. It's got improvise, and it's a 5/5, and Fenhauler can't be blocked by artifact creatures. I think I forgot to read that last week. Yeah, it's a 5/5. It does have evasion. Last week, in fact, yeah, I remember saying that it doesn't have evasion. It does have some evasion, but it's not that great of an evasion. It's very conditional evasion. I'm not really high on Fenhauler. I don't think I'll play it too much, and certainly never first pick. Natural Obsolescence is up next. We've hit another print run. Natural Obsolescence came after Fenhauler in the last pack too. 1 and a green for an instant. Put target artifact on the bottom of its owner's library. Yeah, as I said last week, it looks like we're going to repeat ourselves a bit. I like this card. I think it's solid artifact removal. I will main deck it every single time that I have it. Not taking it highly. I'm going to take it mid-pack or later. But it's still just solid. I'll main deck it. I think I like it even a little bit more than Appetite for the Unnatural. However, Appetite does hit enchantments, so I do like them both quite a bit. Just like last week, Resourceful Return comes after Natural Obsolescence. 1 and a black for a sorcery. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. If you control an artifact, draw a card. Not a card that I'm super happy with. I don't usually like this effect. Some people like it more, but even those who do love it are never first picking it. Just like last week, Filigree Crawler comes next. We are going to do, I just looked ahead, basically the same pack. So let's go through this quickly. Filigree Crawler, not that great. It's a 4 mana 2/2. You get a 1/1 eventually, but that's a lot of work and mana for a 1/1 flyer, essentially. Not a big fan of Filigree Crawler, certainly not a first pick. Just like last week, after Filigree, we get Augmenting Automaton. 1 generic mana for a 1/1 artifact creature construct. 1 and a black to give it +1/+1 until end of turn. It is not Sludge Crawler. It's much worse than that. I'd play it as a 23rd card if I absolutely had to, but certainly not a first pick. After that, we have Implement of Combustion, just like last week. 1 generic mana for an artifact. Pay a red mana, sack Implement of Combustion. It deals 1 damage to target player. When Implement of Combustion is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, draw a card. Terrible. F. You guys know that. We talked about it last week. Ice Over, just like last week, is up next. Luckily, that's going to be the end of the repeats from last week. 1 and a blue for enchantment or enchant artifact or a creature. Enchanted permanent doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. Or sorry, controller's untap step. Yeah, it doesn't tap the creature, and so it's just not that great. Yeah, there's slightly more tapping in this set because of Improvise and Crew, but still, it's just not that solid. You can play it. I wouldn't fault anybody for playing it. If I'm in blue, I'll probably play one as well, but it's not a high pick. All right, commons out of the way. So our commons were exactly the same as last week, except for Wrangle. Interesting. Very interesting. I'll talk about that in a little bit, since this video is going to be a little bit short because of all the repeats. because some people might not know about print runs. Our first uncommon is Deft Dismissal. 3 and a white for an instant. Deft Dismissal deals 3 damage divided as you choose among 1, 2, or 3 target attacking or blocking creatures. I think Deft Dismissal's fine. I'm not as down on it as some people are. Those people are also super down on Impeccable Timing, saying it's terrible and you should never play it, really. I think Impeccable Timing's fine in Kaladesh, and I think Deft Dismissal is fine enough here. I generally wouldn't first pick it, but in this pack, I guess we're going to put it up there. I would much prefer to take it more mid-pack, and sure, if I'm flush with removal, I may not play it, but I think it's fine. I don't think it's as bad as some people have suggested. Up next is Sly Requisitioner. Sly Requisitioner is 5 and a black for a creature human artificer at uncommon. She's a 2/2. She's got improvise, so she can be a little bit cheaper, thankfully. And whenever a non-token artifact you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, create a 1/1 colorless servo artifact creature token. That's too small of an effect for me. Getting servos late in the game doesn't do anything unless you have a perfect go wide plan with a bunch of anthems or inspired charges or something. You're just not going to go off on this. It's way too slow. So I'm not a fan of Sly Requisitioner. Not first picking it, probably not playing it. We have a fantastic first pickable card here, Pacification Array. 1 generic mana for an artifact. Pay 2 generic mana, tap it, tap target artifact or creature. It is fantastic. It is just solid, basically removal that you can change around creature to creature every turn. It's not that bad to keep up 2 mana for this. I love Pacification Array. I will first pick this in many packs. Just a solid card. And finally, we have a rare, Oath of Ajani. We were talking about anthems just a little bit ago. Green-white for a legendary enchantment. When Oath of Ajani enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Planeswalker spells you cast cost 1 generic mana less to cast. That, of course, doesn't really matter in 99% of all limited matches that you'll play with Oath of Ajani. +1/+1 counters on everything on the battlefield is fantastic. And the fact that this isn't a spell, it's a permanent, means that in white, which you'll be playing, you can flicker this. You can bounce it with, not Aviary Mechanic. You can bounce it with, Aviary Mechanic is permanent. You can't bounce it with Acrobatic Maneuver. But you can bounce it with things and then play it again. And then just continue recurring it probably 2-3 times if you're super lucky. But even recurring it once should be utterly backbreaking. I really like Oath of Ajani. Deft Dismissal can get out of there. I think really the discussion is between Oath of Ajani and Pacification Array, which is a great discussion because you are totally stuck between staying totally open with Pacification Array. You'll play that in basically every deck. Aggro decks want it to get through. Control decks want it to buy time. Oath of Ajani you will play in one deck, the green-white deck. Although you could arguably splash if you're green, red, green, blue, green, black, splashing white. I honestly don't know what the exact pick here is. I would need a lot more experience with the format. However, right now, early in the format, I would probably take the Oath just to play with it, just to see how it works, just to make sure that it's as good as I think it is. But I see no fault in taking Pacification Array, and it might even be the right choice. So yeah, this pack was, as I said, weird. Outside of the uncommons, we had commons in almost the exact order as we had last week. That's because cards are printed on a sheet in a print run. So the sheets are in order. There's often multiple sheets, 2 or 3 depending on the set, and then they're chopped up and they're put into boosters in batches. So it's not like every booster is always the exact same order, but parts of the booster will be the same order. So for example, we had last week Taken to Custody followed by Girapur Orrery. These cards are probably on the same part of the sheet. They follow each other. And this was part of a batch that was put into a booster. And then some other batch came on, possibly just this entire batch, who knows? I'm not sure exactly how the sheet looks at the moment. And that's why you actually see these runs. And that's why people shuffle their piles of cards before they move them on. They also do that because if you push all the cards that are really good to the front and you pass that, then the next person immediately knows what all the good cards are. But the other reason is if you memorize this order and all the other possible orders, you could get a tiny bit of information. That being said, work on every other magic skill you have before you work on memorizing print orders. The benefit that you get from this is fractions of a percent. You will do so much better at Magic just by becoming a better drafter, by becoming a better player, by making sure that you remember things better just by paying attention to the match more than you will memorizing this. It's just a cool little thing. I don't memorize it. I don't use the benefit here because it's not that big of a benefit, but it exists, and really cool kind of showing off of it here by getting nearly the exact same pack as last week. So yeah, that's going to wrap it up for Crack Up Pack Tuesday. Let me know what you'd have taken in the comments below in the poll in the top right hand corner. If you do have any questions, comments, or suggestions, you can find me on Twitter at the Mana Leak. That's LEEK, like the vegetable, not the card. You can find me at facebook.com/themanaleak, twitch.tv/themanaleak, and patreon.com/themanaleak. Click that thumbs up button if you like the content. It helps the discoverability. It helps new people find my channel. And if you just found my channel, click subscribe if you want to see more. You can keep up to date on all the weekly series that I do. And of course, we will be starting going back a year or so here. We will be starting Aether Revolt drafts this weekend. So if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, let me know. Otherwise, I'll see you all next time.